Hello everyone and welcome to the next edition of the Chartered Career Chat series. I am delighted today to be joined by Kevin Dufficy. Kevin, thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
Hi Sinead, I'm great, thanks. How are you?
I am keeping the very best and I'm excited for you to share your career story with us. So I'm wondering, if we start at the start, would you tell me a bit about your chartered career story to date?
Yeah, well, my career story to date, I guess where I am at the moment, I'm working in FitzGerald as FitzGerald CFO, and how I got there, I studied in Galway, in NUI Galway, did a B.Comm and a Master's of Accountancy there, and from there I moved into PwC and did my funds audit training there, and got my Chartered Accountancy qualification there, and after I finished training there, I moved internally into the corporate finance advisory practice. So moved from audit into corporate finance advisory. And I worked there for 5 years. And it was a great 5 years. It was a strange 5 years in the corporate finance world in the kind of early 2010s when it was it was a difficult time to be doing it, but it was very interesting though. We ended up actually with a lot of interesting work. So after that, I left there and I moved to the Caribbean for a short period of time. In a finance role over there in a little remote island down in the southern Caribbean. So it was very interesting though. So I worked there for a period, and after that I came home and I ended up going back. I went out on my own as a financial advisory consultant for 2 years. And so I was doing a lot of the kind of work that I would have done in PwC corporate finance, but just maybe on a slightly smaller scale, and as I said, as an independent. So it was through that then that Chartered FitzGerald are actually one of my clients, and I had done a lot of work with them in 2018. And through the work that we did when they sold their commercial business to Cushman & Wakefield, I helped them with that, and it was kind of, we built up a relationship then, and it was from that then that I ended up joining them in March 2019 to where I am now.
Brilliant. Oh, what a varied history. Amazing. I'm interested there. You touched on your period working abroad. I know it's a question I often get asked, can you travel with the qualification? How did you find that transition of carrying your Irish ACA qualification, obviously, to foreign shores?
Yeah. Well, it was quite interesting, I suppose, because even where I was, so it was as I said, it was a remote island in the Grenadines. So the nearest continent, I suppose, the nearest country really was part of the St. Vincent and the Grenadines, but the nearest country was Venezuela. So it's the qualification traveled a long way with me that time. That's the beauty of it, I suppose. It does allow you to travel quite a lot. In that role, I suppose, it was probably more the skills that I had learned in it allowed me to go over there. It was a different kind of role in that the owners had bought the business and wanted to get under the hood of the business a little bit to understand what was going on the ground a bit. So I went over there and tried to get a handle of that, and then tried to put into place some procedures that would help both the finance team, but also just across the business, be it through procurement or marketing, etc. So it was a very broad range of tasks, I suppose, that we had to do. And the beauty of the qualification is that it can travel to those kind of places.
Absolutely. And you're mentioning there in terms of the variation of your tasks, we sort of consider the qualification, and many of our members do as well, as a business leadership qualification. It is so broad ranging in terms of what you can do with it. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, no, I would. I suppose there's many things really, and haven't done the exams, so unfortunately we had to study many things to get to it. But obviously leadership was one of them. But informally, in terms of your on-the-job training, I think because of the kind of work that you're doing, even from quite a junior level, you are exposed to leadership type people. So you start picking up leadership skills very quickly, and be that internally in your own organization, or externally, with your clients, if you're working in practice and you've got clients, typically you're kind of dealing with maybe more senior people. So you do end up getting exposure to people in leadership qualifications probably a little bit earlier in your career than you might have otherwise. So you pick up those skills very quickly. So it's great.
And so then you had a period of self-employment, and then obviously you're in your current role now as CFO. Would you say the qualification has had an impact on your career progression and your ability to navigate through so many varied roles?
Yeah, no, it has. I mean, the qualification is a great as I said, it's a great training and a great learning. In terms of the roles that I've had, I mean, most of them having that qualification is probably a prerequisite to getting the job. So I mean, there's obviously that aspect of it. But when I worked for myself, I think it was particularly valuable then because, you know, when I was going to try and pitch for work or win work, if I was meeting people that I didn't know, you know, immediately if you have the qualification, it credentializes you at least, and you know, it gives you something to go to a client with. At least you're not just going there in the capacity as yourself and asking for work. At least you can say, you know, I suppose straight away, at least they know that you've gotten a certain level of training, and there's an element of trust with that. So it was particularly valuable for me then. But as I said, most roles that you end up with that have gone for since, it's probably been a prerequisite to have it.
Yeah, that credibility piece, you know, is important, as you say. Fantastic. Is there skills or qualities that you think are important, you know, if you're considering chartered accountancy as your maybe career of choice? Any particular traits that come to mind?
Yeah, I suppose there are so many. I mean, the main ones I would have found, I mean, is maybe slightly cliched, but I mean, the idea of hard work really is, you know, it is really important. Obviously to get your exams, but when you do get qualified, it is a great platform, and you can go in various different directions. And if you're willing to put the hard work in, and, you know, kind of make reasonable career choices, you can progress pretty quickly with it. It can carry you a long way. So I mean, it's very valuable to just be able to kind of grind it out. And that means at times doing things you mightn't want to necessarily do, but just to be able to keep going at things, that's very valuable. I guess one of the most important things that, I suppose, certainly in hindsight, going into it, I wouldn't necessarily have appreciated the importance of it is relationship management. And, you know, be that internally in your own organization, to be able to, I suppose, a lot of the time you need people to like you to be able to influence, to be able to have influence in a place. So it's really important to manage relationships. And as I said, in an internal capacity, or if you're working in practice, you've got clients to manage. And, you know, if you're working in practice, your practice's business is your clients, so you have to manage that all the time. So I do think that relationship management piece is really important. It's something that you pick up and you learn as you go. But that's, yeah, it's pretty important.
It's funny that you said that. My job title is relationship manager. I totally believe from the start, Kevin, that communication, people skills, relationship management, you know, is core. So it's interesting that you're echoing that.
Yeah.
In terms of your role now, CFO, you know, we get an awful lot of questions from folk who have that ambition to rise to the top of the tree, if you like, or up through the ranks of, you know, an accounting or finance role. What, you know, from a high level perspective, what does a CFO do? What are the roles and responsibilities that come with that job?
Yeah, well, I guess every CFO is, the roles and responsibilities are a little bit different. I mean, in terms of my own at the moment, it's probably more an overview type overall management role. First of all, you know, and kind of trying to help manage the direction of the company. And while it's a CFO, well, the title is Chief Financial Officer, you end up touching across various aspects of the business, you know, and you need to know what's going on in all aspects, be it operations, HR, marketing, IT. So you kind of become a bit of a jack of all trades in ways. And you probably end up doing less in terms of your physical doings, you know, doing day-to-day tasks, and just maybe being, you know, more flexible with your time. And then obviously you've got the piece around shareholder issues and board reporting, etc. So that's where that's where it's really important to be able to take, because there's so many things going on. Let's say in a company like FitzGerald, when we've got, you know, 100 branches, let's say, across Ireland. So there's so many various different things going on. That's be it through the franchise and own network. So you need to be able to pull, if you've got 2 hours or 3 hours with a group of directors once every quarter, you need to be able to pull the various, the most important aspects of it succinctly and communicate it with them. So, you know, it's about knowing what's important to report and how to do it in as quick a manner as possible.
It's fantastic to see you just in the varied sectors and the varied journey, and now obviously property and real estate. In your own development and I suppose course of, you know, coming through your career, I know we mentioned it earlier before recording, but you've picked up some interest in other facets along the way, the likes of your master's in sports psychology, was it?
Yeah. I did a master's in sports and performance psychology in 2014, and it wasn't necessarily what would be considered the natural step for an accountant at the time to do that. I went back. I went part-time for the year, 3-day week with work in PwC. In fairness, now they're very good for facilitating it at the time. To do that, I was always very interested in it as a field, and I kind of wanted to know a little bit more about it. And I mean, what that has kind of helped me to develop, it helped me so much when I work for myself. It's helped me a lot in my role since. It's given me a much better appreciation for maybe what makes people tick and people's motivations, etc. And equally in terms of how I manage my own career and how I manage my own life in general. But the skills there, like as I said, it might not necessarily have been considered a natural thing for an accountant to do at the time. And at the time, I wasn't really sure about it myself, to be honest with you. But the skills I've learned from that have really helped me, probably more so than if I had done any technical qualification then. Like, I mean, and I do think, and probably gave me an appreciation for the importance of, you know, having various different interests in different fields and pulling bits from those fields into what you're doing yourself. As I said, that people management piece, and even the idea of kind of building paths for yourself to go down has, you know, been one of the most valuable things that I've done in my career, to be able to use that as a secondary qualification to promote my own primary qualification. So, you know, be it, and I do think that translates for any, if you do have any other skills from other fields or any other qualifications from other fields, to tag that in with the accountancy qualification, it's very valuable.
No, I totally agree. There's loads of teams, sports folk in the profession, creatives, all sorts. And I think there's that age-old misconception that we're maybe boring introverts, and it's not the case at all, Kevin.
Yeah.
Well, in terms of maybe thinking of summing up and reflecting back, if there's somebody now considering this as a career path, Kevin, would you recommend it? Yeah,
I know I would. Like, it's, as I said, it's been a great journey for me. I must say I've really enjoyed it, and even personally, I've made a lot of I've made a lot of friends. My own girlfriend, I met her. You know, she's an accountant as well, who's again not necessarily working in accountancy now, but no,
I'm married to a chartered accountant too, Kevin.
No, but that's from a personal perspective, but from a career perspective, no, it's very good. As I said, the qualification itself, as you say, you know, you have this thing of an accountant, but it's actually a qualification that gives you a great platform and a great skill set to be able to go away and do various things. So anybody who was considering it, I think it's very valuable, and it will stand to you in the future.
No, totally agree with everything you say there. There's definitely personal rewards in terms of brilliant networks, great social life. We're a sociable bunch, and great relationships to be made. And then obviously on the career development piece, it's amazing to see. Obviously, you're an ACA, so you're within 10 years of being qualified, Kevin. You're a CFO, should I say, of a recognised household brand. So credit to you. It's fantastic for you to share your journey today. So thank you very much. We really appreciate it, and take care, Kevin. Thanks again.
Thanks a million, Sinead.